Come on, Nige. Hello and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Palace fans throughout the world. Welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Ian Noble and I am your host this evening, looking back on the narrow loss at Stamford Bridge yesterday afternoon. With me on the show this evening, we have the larger-than-life Gel Holyoke sitting in his kitchen. Always has an opinion. Good evening, Gel. How are you, baby?
Bonsoir. Yeah. I was about to say something rude then. Yeah, very good, thank you.
Good. And joining me also, the legend that is Mr. Jim Cannon. How are you, Jim?
Very well, thank you. Good evening, all.
Excellent. And 10,500 miles away in Melbourne, it's a very good morning on a Tuesday to young Aaron. Hello, mate.
Morning, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. What's the weather like down there?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hot today. I think 38 today, 39, something like that. I've already got the aircon on. Yeah, aircon on, and it's 7 in the morning. So, that tells you how hot it's going to be today.
Wow. So we've got a real international class today. We've got Scott. We've got someone in Australia. So it feels international. Welcome, gentlemen. And it's great. Got so many people joining us in the chat already. Keep an eye on the chat, guys, throughout this evening. And it's good to see so many of you joining us tonight. Before we get into the roundup of the Chelsea game yesterday, I just want to talk about the other teams at the club. This is what we do on the Red and Blue Review. It's not just about the first team. So the under-18s bounced back from a 4-0 defeat the previous weekend by hitting 4 of their own past Fulham at a rainy Motspur Park. A brace from Basilio Socolici, along with efforts from Joe Gibbard and Rio Cardines, saw Palace come away with all 3 points. I hope I pronounced the lads' names correctly. The under-21s, meanwhile, played at home on Friday afternoon against Sheffield United at Champions Hill. The game finished 1-1, but the result means Palace are now out of the Premier League Cup, finishing third in their group of 4. And this evening, they're playing tonight. They kicked off at 7 o'clock. They're 2-1 down at half-time at home to Fulham. And then the ladies, Crystal Palace women, they played London City Lionesses on Sunday evening in the Women's Championship at Hayes Lane, and they suffered a heavy 5-0 defeat to the top of the table Lionesses. And next up for the women, they're away at Coventry United ladies on Sunday, the 22nd of January, kick-off 2 p.m. in the Women's Championship. So that gives us a quick roundup of the other games. Before we come to the main event, I suppose, really, of course, is the Premier League game at Stamford Bridge. Palace went into the game on the back of a couple of defeats. We're going to look at the lineup first of all. Before we talk about the game, guys, I'd like your views on the lineup. So this is how we lined up at the Bridge yesterday. Guita in goal, Klein at right back, Mark Gahey had the armband, Anderson and Mitchell, Schlupp, Decore in the defensive midfield row, of course, and Eze in midfield, Elise, Zaha and Ayew, with Zaha playing in a central role. Elise wide on the right, and Ayew was left. I think that's how he lined up anyway. Tell me about your view on team selection. When it came out, what was your opinion? First of all, you, Gel, what did you think?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was disappointed, the same as I was the last 2 games, where we literally have, we're not playing our forwards, and it sort of smacks a little bit, really, because Edouard scores goals. He might only score 1 a game, but it doesn't matter. Yesterday, we would have only needed 1. So, disappointing, but much of a muchness, really. Quite strong. It's a bone of contention. We got our best left back. We got our two best centre backs, or had at the time. I can't. I'm going to say Ayew has played okay in the last couple of games. So, for what he's done, so he deserves to stay in his place. So, again, no bashing. I just would have liked to have seen at least 1 centre forward. But
who would you have selected?
I would have selected Edouard. I mean,
Edward.
what he does, he gives the impetus of just going forward all the time. That's what we have got in our team. Are probably 5 players. You know, starting with the core in the middle. When he gets the ball, he does like to go forward, and then obviously Elise, Eze, Zaha. You know, we just have players that look to go forward, and you know, I just think he has that left foot, right foot. You know, the combination of just picking the ball up, seeing the goal, and giving it a whack, which for the, you know, but we'll cover that later. But yeah,
of course, you know, I know we lost to Southampton in the cup, but he got his goal against Southampton. He had a chance and he scored it, didn't he? So,
and that was the other thing as well. We played our first team. We legit played the best team that we could have put out that day. Well, usually, but we played a legit forward, and the legit forward scored a goal. You can't, you know, they played their best team, and we played our best team. So it flummoxes me as to why he doesn't get a start. It really does.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Jim? Would you agree with Gel on that? Would you have seen Edouard start?
Well, I don't know why, but he seems to favour Wilfred up front in place of Edouard or JP. What reason, I'm not sure, because I watch all the games at home especially, and Wilf is just a player that goes missing when he plays up front. He's not somebody that can hold the ball up. Wilf's best position is wide on the left, either going down the line or coming inside. And I think when we play him up front, we lose that little bit of skill and directness on the left-hand side. We also lose Tyrek Mitchell, because both of them play really well together, getting down there. Yeah. And I don't know why. I mean, Joe said, Edouard, he come on, Southampton scored a goal. I think these players, unless you've got real confidence in them and keep playing them, even though they don't do that well, you never actually give them a chance to settle into a team and get to know everybody around them. And at the moment, I feel sometimes I think it's easier to leave players out and keep players in rather than make the brave decision. I mean, Ayew does a great job, but sometimes if you put Edward up there, you take Ayew out. Well, why don't you try it? I mean, what's he going to lose? It's Elise wide on the right. That takes care of where Ayew would normally play. But sometimes it's easier just to leave the team as it is and not disrupt certain players. And Ayew's not going to score goals. He's not going to get a lot of goals. He'll get the odd one. And every time Edward's played, he's scored goals. So I'm not a favourite of Wilf up front.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for that. Aaron, just come to you for your view on it. Would you have picked Edouard?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see his reasoning for why he has played Wilf up front. I think the only reason that I can see is that probably, you know, you can see with Anderson spraying long balls that they're probably trying to play him behind. You know, Wilf has a lot better pace than probably Eddie does. But yeah, I probably have to agree with what everyone else says. I'd probably start with a striker up front.
Who would you have dropped from starting 11 then? Who would you not have played?
It's a hard one, really, isn't it? Because my immediate thought would I'd say Schluppy, and then the problem is if we don't play 2 holding midfielders away at Chelsea, we could get, you know, we could get pretty annihilated. I don't know. You'd have to take off either one of the top 3, wouldn't you? In Eze, Elise, or Zaha. But then again, do you drop any 3 of them? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, Jill's shaking his head to that. Jill.
Well, no, I mean, if you are gonna drop anyone, really, you know, in the quest for goals, you have to. And again, you know, I'm like, stats never lie. I love a stat, and Ayew gets a goal every 50 games, 50 games. It's a stat. So. What's Eddie? 5? Edward's got 5 or 6. What I don't understand is when he came in, he played his first ever game for us. Come as a sub, scored 2 goals. That should have been the catalyst for him, but he just got used as a sub for the rest of the season. I was like, what is? I don't get it. I just don't get why he doesn't play him.
We've done the forwards. What about Will Hughes? There's a lot of call on Palace social media for 2 holding midfield players to have started away at Chelsea. Doucouré can't do it all on his own. Any of you would have started Will Hughes in midfield?
Yeah, I would have done. I thought when he came on against, was it the Southampton game? He's the type of player you want in there. You know, he gets mixes in with players. He's quite comfortable on the ball, and he tackles and gets stuck in. And I think by having him and Doucouré in that position actually allows other players a bit more freedom. Schlappe sort of tends to just, I don't know where he goes. He just disappears and he'll try things and lose the ball. And I don't think you need that sort of player alongside Doucouré. I think we've got plenty of players like Elise, Eze, Wilfred to do that.
I think also, Jim, if you play Will Hughes in the midfield, he gives Doucouré the license to go forward occasionally as well. And we saw, didn't we, at the end of the game, what a good shot he's got. You know, he's yet to score for us, but I don't think it's going to be long before he gets on the score sheet if he gets those kind of opportunities and takes shots from, you know, the edge of the box like he did towards the end of the game. Jill.
The thing about Doucouré is at the moment, if he doesn't have Hughes in there with him, he's the only combative midfielder that we've got. And it proves it because he's got 6 yellow cards. Now, we all know Hughes loves to get in. He's almost like a punch-up in the making. But that's what we need. We really need someone else to get in there. And maybe some of the fierce tackles aren't always left to Doucouré, who's going to get a card. You know what these players are like, these, especially yesterday, you know, the Chelsea players, they could have kicked the crap out of us all afternoon. The referee was only ever really going to try and book our players. Proved it, didn't it? 5-2 in cards.
Yeah, 5-2 in cards. There's a very good article today in The Athletic talking about Doucouré. He's on 6 yellow cards for the season. I don't know if we can get that graphic, Nigel, now. I know we talked about having it later in the show. But that he's on 6 yellow cards already, as is Mark Gahey. And, of course, if they get to 10 yellow cards before match 32 of the season, I know it's some way off, so they only need 4 more yellow cards, they'll get a 2-game ban. All right, so there's the most bookings in the Premier League. I nicked this off The Athletic this morning, and the article talked about Doucouré and how he was combative and how he was doing most of the job in midfield on his own yesterday. Some would say he was lucky not to see red yesterday, because there was another challenge that went unpunished because the referee allowed the play to continue because Chelsea had possession of the ball and he played the advantage. Had he given the foul and pulled it back, he might have had a closer look at it. And some would say he was a bit lucky to stay on the pitch yesterday. But that's his game, isn't it? You know, messes it up, mixes it up. And we're grateful for him, of course. Let's come on to the game itself then. Jel, I know you watched it on a stream yesterday. That came in and out a little bit, but you've got your views on the game. So talk to us a little bit about the first half, and then we'll bring the other two in as we talk through.
Oh, well, thanks, mate. But just before we do that, I just want to go back to that last point. I think it was Havertz or Jorginho who I thought, and I was amazed that he'd done Elise. I don't know if you saw it, late tackle, right on the top of his ankle, on the fold of the bottom of his shin. Shocking tackle. Like, and there was no mention at all of a red card, or, you know what I mean? Had it been the other way round, well, firstly, Chelsea player would have stayed down like he'd just been shot. And then they just looks up and goes, "Come on, ref." That's the thing about our players. We look at the referee and go, "Come on, ref. If you lay there, if you get then go down. Hold on, then have a sneaky look, see the card come out. Sweet as, I'm all right now. Don't worry about it. Change the rules. If you go down screaming, you've got to go off. No matter what. You stop the game, got to go off. Soon stop. Anyway, let's get into the game. Yeah, this is a little bit of just a chances, because obviously the stream I was watching was so bad that it just kept cutting out. So it's a sort of a mixture of what I saw and then obviously watching all the highlights. So Chelsea won, Palace 0. A game that really could have ended in 4-4 if the keepers not had pretty decent games. Throughout, Elise had Louis Saul on toast and probably had his best game for a while. Whilst Chelsea had the best or the most possession, Palace certainly matched them for chances, especially in the first half. And Elise cross gave the Chelsea defenders problems. And after a scramble, the 6'8" keeper Kepler saved well for Mitchell at the far post. Our second very good chance sees Wilf strong against Badiashile, and his layoff to Doucouré, the superb Doucouré. I just mentioned him all the time. He was superb. Sees him flick over the top for Elise, who hits it on the volley, an absolute screamer. And the keeper does really well to sort of chip it round over the bar. Their first decent chance came out for a bit of pinball in our area, giving Silver the chance for a half volley from the edge of the area. That he under pressure, and he is under pressure no matter what from our supporters. Guaita parried superbly low down to his left. And you could hear the disappointment in the commentator's voice at never winning either, as well as the home supporters.
Wasn't it offside though? Wasn't that going to be given offside had it gone in?
No. See, that's the thing. Let me tell you about it. So in the 38th minute, Anderson is replaced by James Tompkins, and in the silence, a collective sound of face planting was heard from the away fans. Chelsea's next big chance was missed by Havertz, who, having seen his bottled header float over the bar, took a barge from Guaita, who missed both buses coming for the cross. Havertz went down holding his face from zero contact to his head, fake pain from an easy chance. That was offside anyway. So, I was pleased to see that the slow-mos, because they only showed the possible offside once on the telly, but showed the challenge about 4 times, and he never even touched his face. It's scandalous. And again, like I say, the quicker they make these players who go down with this fake pain get off the pitch, the sooner it stops.
How would you stop it then? How would you, before you go on, how would you stop that?
Because right, I'll tell you for why. What you do, you see these players go down, and back in the Jim, back in the day when someone was hurt, you know they were hurt because you actually did smash them properly. So, but these you see them go up, turn over on the floor, and and the other leg's going down like that, or they're flapping their hands on like, I'm in serious pain. Get me up. And then a minute later, the geezers come on. If you had the sponge like we had on a Sunday morning, do you know what I mean? Put a bit of water on there when it was still dog crap on it, where the geezer put it on a dirty pitch. They wouldn't do this. If you want to stop it, go. Honestly, you want to stay down. If you're down for longer than 10 seconds, that you do not need anyone to come on the pitch, then get them off. The managers would be going, get up your mug. What are you doing?
Let me stop you there because you're in full flow. I know, I get that. But how would you stop it? Is a 2-minute suspension on the sideline, Jim? Would that work? Do you think?
Well, it's quite difficult. I mean, if I'm looking at it, I hate this where a player gets injured and he has to go off. The player that injured him should go off with him and stand on the touchline so they both come on together. What Gel's talking about. VAR's looking at they're not just looking at one instant, they're looking at the game all the time. So that instant there with Havertz was right. The keeper didn't touch him anywhere near the face. So if he's gone down and he's had 5 minutes of treatment, and VAR says to the ref, he never touched him, send him off for 5 minutes. However long them guys were on and off the pitch, take them off. VAR can look at that. They don't do anything else, and mind you, everything else they do, they get wrong. So,
but sin bin like rugby.
Well, that's right. Someone said in the chat about sin bin. I think it might work. I don't know, but okay. Just talk about the first half then. 0-0 at half time. Anderson goes off on 38 minutes. Okay. Aaron, right substitution, James Tompkins, or would you have changed him for anyone else?
It'll either be Tonks or Richards, wouldn't it? It's one or the other, really. And we haven't seen too much of Chris Richards. What did he start in the cup, didn't he? But that's it. But he's a young player. I probably would have given him a chance, I know we rely on Tompkins a little bit for the backup, but I think Tompkins' Premier League days, he's solid. You know what you get with Tompkins, but the way we play isn't going to suit him, is it? I don't think people realise how much we lose Anderson. Not in terms of a defending point of view, but for an outlet as well. His crossfield balls sometimes are the difference between us getting in on goal and not. So, yeah, huge loss really. But yeah, I would have given Richards a go. But Tompkins, you know what you get with Tompkins? It's solidity, isn't it?
Okay, Jim. After the Fulham debacle, would you agree with that, or would you have made a different substitution?
I think I've said it before. We don't see what goes on in training. After the Fulham game, I would have thought really highly about putting them back in Richards, you've signed from, was it Bayern Munich you come from?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a American international. I've only seen him in one game early on in the season when he came on as a sub. And right away, I thought, big, strong lad, looked really good in the air, comfortable on the ball. Why not? But we don't see what goes on in training week in, week out. Tompkins, he does all right, Tompkins, but he's not your future. I mean, he's just a backup player. And when's he going to get injured again? So
yeah, sure. Leon Sound says Tompkins is championship now at best. And I must confess, in the away and yesterday, we're looking at each other going, Tompkins, really?
What, not
because, yeah, most people are thinking Chris Richards would have been the better substitution. But you've got to say that Tonks actually did okay yesterday.
He did.
He didn't do anything wrong. So give him credit where it's due. So, first half, are we done the first half, John?
No. So the real pain in the arse is always going to be Gallagher. And without his endeavour, Chelsea would probably have had another off day. His cross was missed by Havertz at the near post, and Lewis Hall cleared well for Palace by shooting well wide from an angle, unmarked 6 yards out.
It wasn't well wide, it was that close.
No, it wasn't. Look at it on the TV. It was going 2 yards wide, and had Guaita not got his foot on it. That was the only reason it was close, because it was nearly an OG.
It was really close.
No. Anyway, then another chance for us. Eze's corner finds Jeff Schluck. Jeff Schluck gets away. He's been strangled. Gets away, gets a bit far away from the near post, and then puts in a fantastic header. And it was literally because their goalkeeper, like I say, just so tall with his long arms, has done really well. Otherwise, that would have, I thought that was a legit our best chance. And then Ziyech was next to see a chance go begging after Guaita's flappy punch straight to him on the edge of the area. And then his screaming volley, Guaita did well, just stood there, stuck his arms up in the air, tipped it over the bar. And that was he redeemed himself really, because I say the punch was poor, but the save again was good, and that really was the highlights of the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought you mentioned the Thiago Silva shot, but before that it was a bit like head tennis, wasn't it? He had a header from the corner. It was Mitchell that was playing head tennis with him. They both headed it twice before Thiago Silva had that shot. I thought Thiago Silva, what a Rolls Royce of a player he is. He's 38 years of age. He looks about 28.
He's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And he's still got a turn of pace as well. Did you see him 1-on-1 versus Wilf in the first half?
Yeah,
he had Wilf in his back pocket.
Yeah, he did. So, I think, it was probably fair at the end of the first half, 0-0. And as you say, both keepers played really, really well and made some good saves. Let's move on to the second half then. Which side started better for you in the second period?
Well, I mean, just Chelsea started better anyway. But again, let me just zip through the highlights, because there's really not many of those in the second half. Chelsea's winner came from a short corner. Eze's trying to cover two players, and he can't cover, he can't cut out Ziyech's cross, and Havertz gets across. I mean, firstly, Decore, I think, is trying to manoeuvre him out of the way. That fails. Yeah. The ball goes over Schlupp. So you see Schlupp, look, you see how high he's up in the air. Schlupp is almost up with him, but it goes over him. And it's a bullet header. Keeper's got no chance. It's a good header from a legit centre forward. Good header, deserved really. I mean, they came out, blasted us in the first part of the first half. Come out and tried to blast us again in the second half. So, but we nearly got back into the game when Edouard, who was subbed on because we were losing, he crossed for Mateta, who was subbed on because we were losing. And he's attempted at a sort of ball right to Decore, and his Townsend-esque volley saw Kepa once again save well and give the Palace midfielder a chance to put in a spectacular animation photo on his front room windowsill. The only thing I will say, they would that in photos you can turn him into 5 seconds or whatever he must have that. If not, someone do that. Someone at the club sort that out for him, because I think he'll love that. I'm gonna say that this game was different from the recent losses, and it really was. It felt, and this is gonna, some people will be face planting in the chat about this, but I almost felt it was acceptable because it was Chelsea and because Chelsea raised their game. but it really could have and it should have been a draw.
Sure. I don't disagree with that at all. They had their chances as well to make it 2-0. There was the Mount cross that Havertz missed open goal, didn't he? Should have been 2-0 then. But I thought the Curry volley was really unlucky not to go in. Wilf had a couple of chances, which you didn't mention.
No,
one
I know.
before the goal, where we countered on the back of a Chelsea throw-in. Elise feeds Zaha on the right-hand side. It was an acute angle, but he shot and was, again, Kepa was in the right place, So, there were chances both ends. But I was really encouraged by the fact we have 5 shots on target,
Well, shall I give you some stats just very quickly? Because we've not got every one of them, but just really quickly. So 15 shots to them sent to us, on target 5 and 5, and that 5 and 5, the 5 from us is just a more than marked improvement on 2 games where we didn't have a legit shot. Possession was 63-37 to them, corners 11-7 to them, fouls 10-17 to us. At least we won one part of that. Cards 2-5, but that was always going to be away. The attendance was 36,000 odd, 25,000 Chelsea, 2,000 Palace, 9,000 Chinese, which Richard really angered Nick Philpott. He rung me after the game. He angered it much more than it should have done. But I think the real reason is because most of the takeaways in Causden were probably short-staffed.
That's brilliant.
But he really did run me up and went, you bloody well better say something about all the tourists, he said. And he said the tourists, they're in the Palace end as well. He was fuming.
Okay. Let's talk about that briefly, because Nick mentioned it. I don't know whether he messaged me privately or in a group. I can't remember now. I was travelling. I was on the train coming back yesterday, and I rang him up and I said, what are you talking about? And he said, there's all these tourists in the upper tier, in block 2 of the upper tier. I was in the lower tier. I was actually in the front row of the lower tier. And I said to him, who are they? Did you talk to any of them? He said, no, because none of them could speak English. and they all looked a bit bemused when Palace started singing the Palace songs. They didn't know the words. They didn't know how to join in. Now, I want to know if anybody in the chat knows anything about this. How did all these tourists, in inverted commas, get tickets in the away end? Serious question, really, because I know several Palace that would have liked to have gone yesterday but couldn't get tickets. So who's responsible for selling all these tickets to these tourist people? Seriously, anyone knows anything about that, we'd love to know. Pop it in the chat and we'll read it out. Okay, so all good. Oh, my goodness, I've lost my train of thought now. Post-match, Patrick wasn't happy, was he? Did you hear what he said post-match, Jim? Did you come across what he said?
No, I haven't heard.
You haven't heard that? Okay.
I would imagine he just felt that they deserved something out of the game.
Well, he did. He got booked as well. This is what Patrick Vieira said. He said, I think we did enough to get at least a point today. The other side is to look at chances created. Today, again, we created enough chances to score goals. So he's not wrong in any of that. The problem is not about that. The most difficult thing is to create chances. It's about scoring. We should score more goals. This is a fact. Well, Patrick, you're not wrong there, mate. We all agree with you there. He said we have quality players who can do that. At the moment, it is true that we lost a bit of our confidence. We don't take our chances. We have to keep working on that side. And I think if you look at the chances we did create, the Mitchell volley that Kepa saved, the Elise shot that he saved well in the first half, the Zaha efforts on target, the Doucouré shot. We were taking shots and we were hitting the target. We just came up against a very good goalkeeper in form. So he also had a bit of a go at the ref. When you don't win games, you lose confidence. But on the other side, you tell the players to look at the performances, and the performance today was positive. But he also had a little bit of go at the ref. He said we didn't get the results, we didn't get the decisions. He said we did it last year, turn the form around, and we will do it again. So fighting talk from Patrick Vieira. But he did have a go at the ref. He said we're not getting the chances. I'm sorry, we're not that we're not getting the chances. We're not getting the decisions by the referees. He said that Too many decisions are going against us, not just in this game, but in other games as well. There's a lack of respect for Crystal Palace Football Club. He's almost said that. He could get in a bit of trouble with that with the authorities. I don't know, but he got booked again. It's the third time he's been booked this season. He does stray out of his technical area quite a lot. And interestingly, he got booked against Chelsea at home as well. So he's been booked 3 times. And 2 of those were against Chelsea. So,
yeah, but I think, but we need a manager that's going to fight for us. We don't want a manager that's just going to sit there and I'm not mean drag out the past, but Roy Hodgson, who would sometimes just sit in his chair and that. We need someone that's going to get up and rile them players, for Christ's sake. Like, if they're not playing well, we want the manager on the touchline to be telling them.
You can't pick on Roy for not getting out of his chair. I'm 56. He's 72. I can't get out of my chair faster than Roy. Jesus. No, Patrick. You want Patrick. I think a lot of when you're a World Cup winner, when you're a serial winner, you just want to win all the time. And the thing is, as a manager, as a player, you don't get to you can say what you want in the dressing room. You can't attack a player through getting. You'll get massive fines. You'll probably get barred by the club because you'll bring the club into disrepute. You bring the game into disrepute. But the thing is, as a manager, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean? Get a yellow card. So what? You know what I mean? If he sits in a stand, all they do is mic him up, and then Ocean Roberts will he'll do the team. You know what I mean? He'll do what he does anyway. Get up and start screaming at the players. So there's no. I like Patrick's passion, and I like the fact that he will go up and confront the referee, because we don't do that enough as a team. We don't surround the referees screaming like every other team. There was where's this rule gone, right? Where only 2 players per team can go up to the referee. Usually it's the captain and one other. Now it's completely lost. Look at Man City, Man United, all the big teams. Spurs are the worst. They literally, I mean, if they had their way, their goalkeeper would come out and join in as well. The game's gone a little bit. The game has gone a little bit, and I think it needs reining in. I really do. But until we get a strong Premier League, someone at the Premier League that wants to just go, look, if you keep doing it, we're just going to keep putting it on camera. And every time, more than 2 of you do it, we're not going to pull you up, not going to give you cards. We're just going to fine you and do it relevant to the money that the clubs are worth. So with us, where our money's 170 million quid a year, they've got to fine us 50 grand. Because I think if you have more than we're going to get a fine for having 2 players sent off in one game. 100% that will happen. But if you have
already, we've had that already, haven't we?
I don't know.
We are against Fulham.
No, that's what I'm saying. So we'll get a huge fine about that. The same as if whatever you get, if you get more than 6 yellow cards or whatever in one game, I think you get a fine.
Okay.
I think but the thing is, if it was 50 grand a person, you had 6 of their opposition, and you're only supposed to have 2. The 4 extra, 200 grand. If you're 200 grand to a team like us is a fortune. To Man City, it's not. But if you made it 500 grand because it's relevant to their amount of money, soon the only way you can hurt these people is literally we fine them hugely or deduct some points, and they don't have they just don't have the balls to do the points thing. We know.
Okay, listen, we've talked about Patrick Vieira's passion. We're pleased that he cares, that he's showing that he's getting booked, if you like. He's outspoken a little bit post-match. That's great. Now, what about on the pitch, though? There's some comments in the chat about, the reason we're not doing this, we haven't got a leader on the pitch. Jim, you were captain of Crystal Palace Football Club for a number of years. What are your thoughts about leadership in the current squad? Have we got a leader? And if we have, who do you think that should be?
Well, I mean, it should be all your players in theory. I think we got leaders. Gehi at the back he's a young lad. He's still learning. Anderson's a World Cup player. Doucouré looks a quality player. I mean, these players should. I mean, I'm going back to Gill's little rant there. I mean, I was taught from day one that when one person gets injured, you all limp. Until you get round that player that's just kicked your mate, until you get round the referee and make sure that he knows why you're there. So I don't know what this 2-rule thing is, but you'll never stop that. Arsenal are the best team in the league at the moment, and they're top of the league. because as soon as something happens, there's 11 players. I even see the goalkeeper the other day running up. There's players up there getting around the referee, getting around. And sometimes these other teams go, oh, bloody hell, these are all up for it. I don't fancy
that's what happens to us.
Yeah, but we don't do that. What I see in our team, like you mentioned it earlier on, like player gets injured and he sort of gets up, I said, don't worry, I'm all right. Whereas the other players, when we do it to another player, he's rolling around and suddenly there's all their players round. We don't do that as a team. I don't think we're together enough. So when somebody gets injured, we should have half a dozen players round there looking over that guy that's kicked you or done whatever, screaming at the referee without being abusive and letting them know that you ain't happy with it. But I think it's a together thing. We get injured and we just get up and nobody gathers round and moans at anybody, grabs a few shirts and like, who's worried about getting the odd card?
Who changes that then? Who changes that? Patrick?
I think that comes from Matt. And look at Patrick. I mean, bloody hell, he played in the Arsenal team that would have kicked their grannies, weren't they, all over the place? So, but whether it's maybe the players, well, I wouldn't expect, if you look at our players, Tyrek, young lad, Eze, Elise, they're not really going to get involved in that. That's like, and I think it's just something that would develop when they see more senior players doing it, like getting round referees, getting round players that have just injured your mate. And we haven't got that at the moment. We haven't got that kind of team.
I think when Joel Wall plays and he's got the armband, he does get involved. He does step in. He's not necessarily a naturally aggressive player in that respect. But I just think for a while, one of the reasons we haven't been doing as well as we perhaps could and should have been is that we haven't had that leader on the pitch. You know, that natural, that Jedinak, you know, that person that can really lead, someone that the rest of the boys absolutely look to and that will you know, lead you at any time during the game.
If you look at last season, everything started from Conor Gallagher. Now you would look at him and think, well, a leader, but just the way he went about things and the way he closed people down. The minute he made a move, everybody followed him behind. So it just needs one little thing to set things off.
Yeah, Johnson gives it. There's Jeff Thomas as well, you know.
Yeah, Jeff Thomas. I mean, another player, all action, like, and people followed him. You know, like if you've got a real woozy midfield player just strolling about and he's your main man, then probably other players might just be like that as well. So I think he should be the player, but it's because he's that type of player, and I think they will start following him. But at the moment as well, when you're on a little bit of a bad run, it's hard and it's easy to look at teams and go, well, they're not really, you know, when you've lost 4 out of 5 games, confidence saps a little bit and you think, where's the goal coming from? So there's lots of other factors involved.
You're absolutely right. And Patrick said that, didn't he? He said the confidence is down a little bit. But hopefully, you know, if we can get a couple of breaks and, you know, get a win, certainly in the next tough run of games, then I think that confidence starts to come back pretty quickly. Jill, you want to make a point?
Yeah, sorry, and I know Aaron does as well. Just quickly, I'll tell you what I don't hear about anymore, which you always used to hear about, was, and you're saying about, Jim, you said that they don't look together at times. Do you know the only time that I remember teams, I've listened to a lot of interviews about ex-players, and they've gone, that weekend we had in Tenerife, when blah blah blah, and we were playing golf, and someone put the windows through in a car park. You know what I mean? Just stupid stuff, right? But and then they went out all night boozing and got captured or nearly got captured, and it all just creates a stupid giggly, and everyone goes, they're big kids. But the thing is, footballers essentially these days are big kids. I always remember, and I'm not going to name drop because loads and loads of people know that I know him, but Tim Cahill once said to me that footballers, if you have a footballer that's come from an academy, then he has been told what to do his entire life. Now, that was a flippant remark, and I was like, anyway, his missus, I said to his missus said to me, do you want a cup of tea? And I went, yeah, I'd love a cup of tea. She went, don't ask him, tell him. And I thought, you know what? I went, will you do us a cup of tea, please, mate? And he went, do it yourself, fatty, like that. And I looked at him, I went, go and do me a cup of tea. And he literally jumps up when the kitchen done me a cup of tea. Because if you tell them what to do, because that's all they've done, that's all they know is they're told what to do, told who to mark, told where to run, told what to eat, told how to wear this. That's all you have to do. And that's the thing about footballers. If you tell them to do something, essentially they do it. But I always think that you know, like, again, I'll just say, I don't think we go away enough, even if it's just maybe because it's just too compact now. But now we're out the cups. It should give us a little bit more leeway, even if it's 3 days. Fly off somewhere out of Biggin Hill on a private plane. You know, I'm not worried about them going away. I just want them to build a bond. But maybe that, you know, in half a season's time, there's going to be 5, 6, 7 of them. They're not going to be part of next year. So I don't know whether he wants to create a bond during pre-season and we get all our business done quickly, which I doubt. I don't know, but I get where you're coming from, Jim.
Okay, Aaron, you've been very quiet for a little while.
Oh, you're all right. Just in the chat, we're looking at, there's a lot of people saying about Jimmy Mack, which Joe mentioned as well. And people saying that, you know, we maybe haven't replaced him. I'm going to go back to all of our earlier point. We did replace Jimmy Mack. We brought in Will Hughes. And I know for a fact, because I think we spoke about it before, Will Hughes is a big personality in that dressing room as well. And apparently a few of the young players look up to him. He plays in the same position as Jimmy Mack. He plays the same style as him. So if we're looking for a leader on the pitch, put him on the bloody pitch.
Okay.
So just really quickly about Will Hughes. Ben Foster does his own podcast, got 2 different podcasts, and he mentioned Will Hughes when Ben was at Watford and he went out and interviewed, and then he done his podcast and he said, who's the maddest geezer at your club? Someone asked him that and he went, Will Hughes. He is an effing lunatic. He's banter. He's fierce as anybody's ever known. That geezer's played for some big teams, Ben Foster. So maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe we do have that still in the background and we just haven't seen it yet.
Okay, need to sharpen it up a bit, maybe. Okay, good. I'm going to move this on because one of the things we do on this show is we look at our loan players that are out on loan. So they've had a good weekend, actually. So I just want to do this now. 3 of the Crystal Palace Academy products were on the score sheet for their respective loanee clubs this weekend, while a number of others starved for their teams. So first up, 19-year-old John Kamani Gordon. He scored 57 minutes into his senior professional debut on Saturday. He completed his loan move to Carlisle United only on the Friday, but was named in the starting 11 and wasted no time in making his mark. And to cap the weekend off, in an eventual 2-0 win against Newport, he was named in the EFL League 2 Team of the Week. So well done, John. Brilliant stuff. Also hitting the back of the net on Saturday was fellow Academy graduate Jezran Raksaki, who scored Charlton's goal in a 2-0 home win over Barnsley. That strike was his 7th of the season for the Addicts and 5th in his last 11 games. And then over in Belgium, in a friendly, Luke Plange scored twice for RWD Molenbeek in their 4-3 friendly defeat to Luxembourg's FC Swift Espionage. Never heard of them. Jake O'Brien also played in that one. Couple of other loan players. Scott Banks wasn't in Bradford squad. He's injured still. Apparently, Malachi Boateng played 90 minutes for Queen's Park in a 0-0 draw in Scotland. Remy Matthews, he's playing for St Johnstone, lost 4-2. What else? Rob Street and Killian Phillips both started for Shrewsbury in a 4-0 win away at Burton. I didn't think you were allowed to loan 2 players to the same club, but maybe that's a Premier League role. And Jack Butland, all the big noise about him going to Man United, I think he's their 3rd choice because he wasn't even on Man United's bench. And obviously he won't be when we play them in a couple of days' time. So that's a quick roundup of the players out on loan. And it's good to see the youngsters scoring goals. And, you know, certainly John Kamani Gordon and Jez Raksaki look like they're players for the future, players we could do with to call upon in the near future for ourselves. Okay. Jill, I'll come to you in a second. I want to look at the window. We're in the window. A lot of noise about getting players in. What do we need and why? And who should we go for? Jill, make your point, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we need that. We need Jez Ratsaki to just score one every 3 or 4 games, not just keep scoring goals. So I don't want him coming up. Jesus.
No,
A little bit. Do you know what? I think we're all right at the back. I mean, we literally could do with another right back, but again, you know, if Ward is covered for Klein, we've got that. I think Schlupp can pay at the left back if anything happens to Mitchell. So again, it's not ideal, but there is cover there. I do think we need another. I think we need a I don't know, like another centre midfielder. Someone that's a bit. Someone who's in. I don't know whether we need a baller. I don't know. I really thought Eze might have been that player picking the ball up in the centre, but yeah, I don't know what his orders are during the game. So, but for me, I don't know. Let's just say Wolf goes, and I think we go for we use his wages to go and buy another striker. Because it's quite clear that there's a reason why both our strikers, the only 2 legit strikers that we've got in the first team, that they're not playing. There is a reason for it. I don't know it, and Edouard probably doesn't know it. But Mateta maybe, Mateta and Wilf out at the end of the season. That's surely a chunk of money that we can use to buy another forward or 2.
Okay. Let me ask the others then. Jim, your thoughts about the window? What positions do we need to strengthen first, do you think?
Well, midfield. I mean, we're struggling a bit there. Got one player at the moment, Doucouré. Obviously, I see a few comments about Mac, whether he comes back or not. I mean, I spoke to him. What was it? Bogotova game. I sat with him for about half an hour.
Who's this? Sorry,
Jimmy Mack.
Okay,
I didn't realise he was 35. I thought he was young. I said to him, "Well, I thought you were only about 32 the way you run around." But he basically said his body's knackered. He said that's why he pulled out of Scotland squads a few years ago.
Yeah.
He said his operation he had on his hip, which apparently he's had bad hips forever, was not bad. He said, but it was like a 2-hour operation. It took 6 hours, whatever they'd done. But he said in training he was getting better, and then he pulled a calf muscle or something.
Okay.
And he says, when you're 34, 35, everything takes longer to get better. So, I mean, if he's back, it would be great to have him for a couple of months, but whether we'll have him for another season, it's.
I honestly can't see him playing again in the first team. I don't think
isn't his contract up at the end of the season as well?
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but I think there's a few contracts up. See, I mean, I wouldn't have let that Kouati go.
No, but there was the policy, wasn't there, of the 1 and 2 year deal?
Yeah, that's a lot of crap.
Well, it's the club's crap. That's their rules at the moment. That's what we're told.
They're stupid rules, aren't they? Like, what a manager gets 2 months and then he gets a sack. So give Kouati another year. Anyway, I mean, we miss him in the middle of the park, because if we had him, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Jim, that is water under the bridge now, mate. We can't change that. You know,
you asked me about players, so we need a midfield player and we need a centre forward. Possibly another right back, just to a bit of cover. Maybe an up and coming young lad. I can't see there was talk about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but he seems to be getting back in the Manchester United team at the moment. So, but yeah.
What about someone like Max Aarons at Norwich or Jed Spence at Spurs? They're 2 right backs, 2 relatively young right backs that are well thought of. Either of those being any good?
Well, Spence, I mean, he was sort of pulling up trees last year before Spurs signed him. He looked a really good player, attacking right back. So yeah, somebody like that. But do these teams let the players come to Crystal Palace? And
I was looking. Someone's put in the chat there that Chelsea are going to have to sell some players soon. They've got so many top players. And Match of the Day did a piece on it as well yesterday. Match of the Day too. I was looking at that boy Lewis. What was he called? The 67, the left back.
Lewis Hall.
Hall.
Good player.
Yeah, he had a good game against us yesterday. Admittedly, he got a lot of space. I thought Klein didn't have his best game against him, but he looked really good. Looked big and strong. Great left foot. When you think they've got Cucurella, who they spent 60 million on, and and Chilwell as well, a left back. Surely that boy's not going to get a look in. That's the kind of player we could go for in the summer if it's not in this January window. Thoughts?
Are we going to buy anybody in the January window?
Well, the rumour was that we wouldn't buy. We would get loanies in the January window. But who knows? Jill?
I mean, and again, I'm not going to say the source, but it's good. But I was told that I don't know why we haven't been able to do a deal with Man United for Aaron. I don't know whether it's they want us to pay his wages, which is close to 6 figures a week, which we can't afford. Simple as that. I was told there was a little bit of money to the right player if the right player become available. But that's about all. Who's this player that they paraded? Mudryk or something yesterday, Chelsea. Now he plays. Pretty sure he plays the same position as Gallagher. Yeah,
£90 million they pay for him.
Well,
He's more a right winger, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's a bit like Wilf, and he's going to come in from the left or the right or whatever. But that's the point I meant to make earlier. I know we're playing one up front. Sometimes we play, whoever up front, and it's not Wilf. We put Wilf up on the left-hand side, but he really is, when he cuts in, it's like the 4-4-2, isn't it, going back for us. But anyway, yeah, I'd like to think that we would have a very good chance. But in saying that, if it comes down to money, we always know that West Ham are always going to be in front of us. They pay ridiculous money for average players. So for a good player like Gallagher, they would pay him money that we can't even dream of getting near. Even if we get rid of Wilf and we get rid of, if they probably give him 200 a week, and we can't get anywhere near that. So.
And also they've got the bargaining power of Declan Rice. He's been linked with Chelsea, hasn't he? So
well, there, mate. Yeah, but saying, I mean, we've got a little bit of bargaining power with, I thought we had with Wilf. I mean, that'd be nice if behind the scenes that he's done a deal to go there at the end of the season, and then Gallagher comes our way. I would be very happy with something like that. I'd hate to think that Wilf's going to leave the club and leave that space open with no one coming in at all. That would disappoint me immensely.
Okay. Aaron, any thoughts from you about who you might want to bring in and why?
Yeah, I just like what everyone else has said in the chat, and that I'd definitely be bringing in a right back. I think it's a big liability for us. I know what everyone says about Joe Ward and Klein, that they're solid in that, but I remember the Spurs game. I caught Ward napping for 2 of them goals. We need to spend a good bit of money on a decent right back and get that position sorted. And then Conor Gallagher at Chelsea, he's not going to get, when they are all fully fit. I mean, they've got a whole injured, 11, 12 out, signing more players. He's not going to get a look in. I'm sorry, he's not going to get a look in. So if we've got the money to go and buy him, we should go and buy him. I don't know if we have. That's a question that someone else will have to answer for me. And it sounds like we haven't got the money, but.
Well, if you believe what the Sun are saying, that we're going to table a bid for him in this January window, whether it'll be successful or not is another thing. But I, for one, some people were saying after the game yesterday, I wouldn't want Gallagher anywhere near our club. Come on. He had one of his best games. Of course not. He had one of his best games yesterday. He raised his game, I think, because it was Crystal Palace he was playing. He had a fantastic game. And if he was on our team yesterday, we would have won the game.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
What happened the last time he came on against us?
He
just belted it in the back of the net. No. He belted it in the back of the net. So there you go.
So someone said Conor Gallagher will go to Newcastle. Well, that might happen, but who knows? Okay, right. I'm gonna move on. If anyone else in the chat, you think of anyone we should be looking to buy, then do. Someone said Ruben Loftus-Cheek possibly. Yeah, he didn't get on the pitch yesterday. So there are other players Chelsea have got for sure that we could look at. So pop it in the chat if you think there's other players we could be going for in this window. One thing I do want to do is give you a little quiz tonight. All right. So we've got 2 games coming up. We've got Man United in about 48 hours' time. We'll be at Selhurst Park for that one. Can't wait. And then we've got Newcastle on Saturday in the tea time kickoff. So Tom Clark Samuel does a great job for us on Instagram. And he puts these quizzes on Instagram. So I want to share this with you guys tonight and see if you know any of the answers. Let's go back to the quiz so I can see it, please, Nige. So the Man United quiz, nice easy question to kick off with. Who scored our goals against United in the 5th round of the League Cup at Old Trafford in November 2011? So anyone on the panel know that?
Yes. Is it
yeah.
Sorry, Ains.
Aaron Ambrose?
It's Murray and Ambrose.
Darren Ambrose is one. Yeah. Who got the other one?
Is it Glenn Murray?
Glenn Murray. It was Glenn Murray. Well done. Okay, brilliant. What was the score when we played them at Old Trafford in November 2018?
3-1.
No, miles away. Anyone?
1-0. 1-0
Anyone in the
Palace.
chat know it?
18. We're Wilf running ragged.
2018 at Old Trafford in the league.
4-1.
Anyone in the chat? 1-0.
Was it
John saying no, you got it
1-0?
right.
Oh.
2-0. Facebook users got it right. 0-0 is the answer. Our good old friend Facebook user. It was 0-0. And who arrived on loan at Sellers Park from United in August 2014? Wilf is nice and easy, isn't it? What a trick question to say. And then who saw red for the Eagles when we drew 0-0 against them in 2005 at Sellers Park? This is a little bit more difficult, I have to say.
Oh,
Anyone know that?
Fitzhall.
No, not Fitzhall. Anyone in the chat know that? I'm going to come back to that question.
2005.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that question. Right, let's get the Newcastle quiz up. We'll do that one as well very quickly. Bit of fun, this. So let's get the Newcastle quiz up. How many goals did former Palace and Newcastle defender Patrick Van Aanholt score for the Eagles?
Oh, he scored a few. That would be hard.
14.
Oh, close.
13.
Oh, close. You hit the post on 14. It was
Not on
one
target,
goal
though,
out.
is it?
One goal out. 13
13
is the answer. 13. 2 people in the chat got that right. 13 goals for Patrick Van Aanholt during his time with us. And question 2, name the former Palace player who had spells at Newcastle in 93 and 94. I'll give you a clue. He's a goalkeeper.
Barron.
No. You played with him, Jim?
Played with him.
He was a bit of a maverick.
One with the tracksuit bottoms.
No.
Very big.
No, that was way past that era.
Before him, Budgie. There we go. Mark Callaghan's got it right, Budgie.
93.
John CPFC's got it right, Budgie.
Well, he played for 100 clubs, so you'd never get that right.
He had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus, didn't he? Eh?
Hey.
Okay, name 2 former Magpies who were in the Palace squad in 2015/16.
Steve. Oh, I suppose I thought I was going to stay to March then.
Oh, leave. Hang on. I know. I should know this one.
One of them was a forward, scored goals for us, and the other one was a flair player in the midfield. Dawn's got it right.
Johan Goodbye.
Yeah, Dawn's got it right.
yeah.
Goodbye was one. Anyone got the other one?
Hang on. Who did you say? Striker. Oh,
yeah.
Jeez.
Townsend, somebody's saying. Paul
No,
Holden.
not Townsend, not then. It was Gale. Yeah. Paul Berner Wiltshire's got it right. Colin Waterman. Dwight Gale was the answer. And finally, who scored our goals in the 2021 2-1 victory at St James's Park? This was behind closed doors, this game. So you would have watched it on the TV. Our 2 goal scorers that night, unlikely goal scorers, I have to say.
Wilf and
Scott Dan.
No. 2021, this is recently. Jaro is one. Thank you, Jaro Riedeveld. And Cahill, Facebook users. Right, Facebook users on fire. I want to know who Facebook user is. Thank you, guys. That's a great quiz. And the final Man United question was Vasilis Lakis, who saw red in the 0-0 draw in 2005. So, Tom Clark Samuel, thank you for doing those quizzes. And whenever I look on Instagram and I see them, I think, crikey, I don't know those answers. I might know 1 or 2, but it's good to have a little bit of fun with that tonight, I thought. And you can follow us on Instagram, There we go. red_and_blue_review is how you get to that. So we've been having some competitions throughout the season as well. Super 6 is ongoing. Our man behind the scenes is top of our league there on 273 points. I'm fourth. I'm quite proud of that. I had a pretty good week with 11 points. So if you're doing that Super 6, can you see your name there? Tom Samuel, you are there. Lucy Usher, you are there.
Yeah, come on, Lucy Usher. I'm rooting for Lucy this year, seeing as I'm not allowed to do it, seeing as I'm out of the country. I can't believe they stopped me doing that.
Is that
yeah,
right?
No, not allowed foreigners. What a joke, hey?
That's all right. And we've got an FPL league. We've got nearly 150 teams in this, and Olga's Warriors are top of the league at the moment. I'm quite pleased. I'm on the top page, first page. I'm 50th in this at the moment.
Yeah, who's we usually have a stiff competition, don't we, Nobes? Are you above me?
Mate. Yeah. I think I'm above you, aren't I?
God damn! I don't know.
I'm not sure. I might not be. I might have got that wrong. But yeah, we'll have to have a look at that and come back to it. But yeah, FPL. I'm having a pretty good week. I got 68 points so far with 5 to play in my double game week. So that's all good at the moment. So we're going to come to the end of the show in a minute. We're going on an hour. Thank you for all your comments in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. It's been brilliant having you with us. I just want to do some predictions for these games coming up. We've got Man United, as I said, on Wednesday night, Newcastle on the Saturday. I'm going to come to you first, Gel. 2 predictions very quickly for those 2 games.
1-1 both games.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay. Aaron?
I'd say, I'm not going to lie, Man United are in great form. I reckon we could lose to Man United, but no, yeah, I reckon we could get. I reckon we'll snatch a win against Newcastle. Let's go positive. I'll go 3 points.
Okay, give us a score then. Give us some scores.
Oh, all right. I'd say we score 2-1 down to Man United, and I'll say we nick a 1-0 against Newcastle. Newcastle will be cagey. I'll go 1-0 against Newcastle.
Okay. Jim?
We're going to win both games 5-0. If you believe that, you should be in Disneyland. I don't know. I haven't a clue.
I love it when you take things seriously.
I've predicted better results for the last few games, so I got everything wrong. I think if 2 points out of the 2 games, we'd probably say fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. I think if we can get 2 points, 3 points, we'll be happy with that, won't we? We're really happy with that. Okay. Now, something special is going to happen against Man United. Very sadly this week, guys, we lost Palace fan Dina Collins. She was just 28 years old, very pretty young lady there. And so sad that someone loses their life so young. There's going to be a minute's applause on the 28th minute against Man United on Wednesday night. Now, Gel, you personally knew this young lady, so over to you, mate.
Yeah, it was really sad news, and I spoke to a friend of mine, it's his missus, and you know, she just said they're in just absolute shock because you know, I'm just going to read. So basically, you know, we at Red and Blue Review, we'd like to pass on our thoughts and condolences to the friends and family of Dana Collins, who unexpectedly passed away last week. Anyone who ever met her inside the grounds, because she, you know, was a fervent Palace fan, in the cherries before and after, and crystals, and you know, they would always, you remember her smile. If you ever met her, you would remember her smile. She was always smiling, and you know, I know we've all got to go, but it was such a shock, and there will be many people that know her. I know you can be a Palace fan and you can go a lifetime at Palace and only know just a few people sitting around you, and you know, you just go to the game, you don't hang around beforehand, you don't hang around after. But she, you know, I know many people liked her, and it's an absolute shock. And like I say, I know the family, some of the family, you know, very well, and they're absolutely devastated as you would be. But fly high, Dino. You know, rest in peace, Eagle.
Thank you, Joe, very much indeed. And our thoughts and condolences with all Dana's family and close friends. And make sure you stand on your feet and applaud, guys, on Wednesday night on the 28th minute. Okay. So sorry to leave the show on a somber note, but thank you very much to Gel, to Aaron, and to Jim for joining me tonight. Thank you to everyone for joining us in Facebook land. and enjoy the rest of the week. Let's hope we go into these next 2 games and get something out of them. Thanks for joining us, and a very good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Right.